If you've been watching my channel for the last several weeks, you'll know that I've been urging you to take advantage of online game. At the same time, most guys who are online are getting no results. And so there's this kind of paradox, right? Is online game worth it, or is online game really difficult? And the issue is, are you doing it right or doing it wrong? So here's what I did. I got a bunch of you to send me your profiles, and I went through and I found some of the most common mistakes. So I'm gonna break down 3 of the absolute most common mistakes I see, the reasons you're not getting results right now. The first mistake we're gonna look at, which is by far the most common one I see over and over again when I look at guys' profiles online, is simply being boring or not getting the girl's attention. Now, guys who are making this mistake are not necessarily doing anything that's a turn off or super low value. They're just not getting noticed. They look too much like every other guy, and so the girls, when they see them, the profile doesn't stand out. They just instinctively swipe left like they're swiping on every other average guy. All right, so let's look at an example of a profile that's not low value or bad really. It just is too boring. It's just not gonna get noticed in any way. This first photo, it's him with a face mask down around his chin, and he's like sitting in some kind of a car. It's just very normal. I mean, he's a reasonably good looking guy. I don't see anything like unattractive about him in terms of physically, but the mask around the chin is just not like the most classy, high value thing. The sitting in the car, there's nothing special about it. There's nothing that really stands out with the hand on the hair thing. It's just kind of a meh. There's nothing that really stands out about this photo. There's nothing that's really like high value, statusy, gets your attention particularly about this photo. So the next photo, it's him standing in a room. Okay. In normal clothes. Now he looks, relatively in shape, sure. Physically attractive enough, sure, fine. But he's just standing in a room, normal looking room. Doesn't even look like it's like a kind of a ratty couch, whatever. Nothing special about the room. Nothing standing out about him in terms of status. When a girl thinks about who is my Prince Charming, she doesn't think he's standing in a room with a bad couch wearing a t-shirt. That's not how girls describe their Prince Charming. It's going to stand out. It's not going to get their attention. There's nothing, again, unique or special or, nothing that gets the attention. So again, she's just gonna bypass it. And then you have this photo, and this photo actually is kind of cool. I don't know what it is, but it's a kind of cool, interesting looking photo. Problem is, I don't know who he is in this photo. It's just a photo of a bunch of people. I don't know if he's like one of the grown-ups in this photo, one of the kids in this photo. It's a group photo of who knows what. I mean, it's a cool looking photo, but I'd love to know what it is, and I'd love to know how it applies to him, and etc. So it's kind of hard to tie this to him in any way. And then as a child, I was really into Harry Potter and reading in general. I mean, it's good that you're literate, but a lot of guys are into reading. It's not really gonna make you stand out. And of all the books that get read, Harry Potter is probably one of the most common books to read too. It was a bestseller. Again, there's nothing wrong with it, but why were you into Harry Potter? Tell us about the reason if you're gonna do it. And better yet, just pick a different prompt. Pick a prompt that's more about you and her. Pick a prompt that's more about relationships, that's more on point and gonna give, again, that idea of the experience of dating you. What is it actually all about? And then the final prompt here, if I could eat only one meal for the rest of my life, it would be tacos without a doubt. Lovely, tacos. Nice fact. What does that say about you, right? Again, a girl's imagining her Prince Charming. She's like, well, he would eat tacos without a doubt. It's just not relevant. It's just not relevant to the thing she's looking for. It's not relevant to who are you in terms of dating you. How can she brag to her friends about you, right? These answers are just factual and miss the point. All right, this next one, again, is just, he looks good. His face is fine, but like he's just standing in relatively normal clothes in a relatively normal room, kind of looking like maybe a selfie. There's just nothing special about this photo other than, that he's relatively, decent looking guy. But beyond that, who the hell cares, right? And then if I could travel to any time in the past, when the pyramids were built, which is a fine answer. I'm sure that would have been a really interesting thing to see in history. However, does that convey anything specifically about you? Does that give her an idea of what the experience of dating you would be like? Absolutely not. You didn't give a reason why even, right? If you were gonna say, when the pyramids were built because I think it would be fascinating to see this, this, and this. Or when the pyramids were built because, I'd like to live dangerously into this safe modern time. Or give some kind of reason, give something that conveys your personality maybe. But just a factual answer like when the pyramids were built, this prompt is doing nothing for you. So the profile reads, a gentleman and a scholar. Definitely old-fashioned. I know how to treat a lady, and that what makes me happy, looking for my Pam from The Office or from Martin, whichever one. So number one, this doesn't flow particularly well. It's not well punctuated. They should work on that. But content-wise, this idea of I'm a gentleman, I know how to treat a lady, I'll be good to you. How many guys do you think write that in their online dating profile? You're right. A ton. An absolute ton. Now I know a lot of you who have studied my material wouldn't write that. You're usually like, oh, that's supplicating, it's, you know, provider, whatever. Right, fair enough. But you have to understand that most of the profiles a girl's seeing are not from guys who have studied dating material. They're from the average guy in the world, and the average guy in the world is writing this kind of stuff a lot. Right? This whole, I'll be good to you, take care of you, I'll, you know, be your shoulder to cry on, etc., etc., etc. When a girl starts reading that kind of stuff, she thinks, oh my God, another one of these. I've seen 100 of these today. Swipe left. Just out of boredom and lack of emotional impulse to the contrary. Not that it's bad, not that it's awful, not that any of these things are not wonderful attributes that if she was in a relationship with you would not make the relationship better. I'm sure they would, but it's just not how you get on the girl's radar. So looking at that profile, is the guy physically attractive? Sure. I don't know if he's like a male model or anything like that, but he's certainly not unattractive by any means. But in his photos, he doesn't look that special. They're just photos of him doing normal stuff in a normal room, nothing that's showing lifestyle, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that's making him look particularly cool. And then his answers to his prompts are literally just facts. They say nothing about his personality. And then his bio is very much the standard bio of I'll be good to you, I'll be nice to you, I'll be a provider, which again is just not going to stand out. Not because it's not something that girls would value, but because every guy is doing it. It's just too boring at this point. It's just swipe left out of boredom. The next incredibly common mistake I see in online dating profiles is being either too gamey or too sexual. And I put these in the same category because the experience for the girl is kind of similar. All right, a girl wants to be attracted to you and kind of not know why she's attracted to you, or not know what you did to make her attracted to you. That's probably the better way of putting it, right? She wants it to appear like it just happened, not like you did something to become attractive. So when it appears like, oh, he said this thing to be cocky, and while I do respect it, I know he did something, that's not so good. Or when you're so sexual that the girl's like, oh, this guy's, you know, just in it for sex. I feel like he's very strongly just being pushy about sex. That's not going to do good things, even if she otherwise would find you attractive, okay? So you want to be a little more subtle about the gaminess and about the bringing up sex in your profile. And we have an example of this as well. And for this one, we're actually going to look the opposite way. I'm going to look at the photos first, because the photos here are actually relatively decent. But then the profile is not really the greatest, and the profile I think is gonna do him some disservice. So this guy's first photo actually looks pretty decent. He's in a suit, you know, it's relatively sort of stylish, sort of elegant looking. The photo looks like it's at least sort of professionally taken. He has that kind of like not looking at the camera, aloof thing going on. It's, you know, it's kind of a high value, high status looking photo. It's not like the perfect photo, but it's at least relatively decent. He's a relatively, you know, decent looking guy. My one minor critique about this photo, I thought this when I first saw it, is that he looks a little pale. So I wonder if there's a way he could color correct it to like give him a little more color. But overall, it's a decent photo and definitely looks relatively high status and you know, way better than average. Then if you look through his other photos, these were sent to me relatively small, so I can't go in minute detail, but we have a photo of him doing martial arts, photos of him in decent scenery. We have this photo with like the ripped jeans and very stylish look. I actually really like that one style-wise. Photo of him getting out of a Ferrari. And then we have this photo like jumping through fire. These are pretty cool photos overall. It looks like he has an interesting life. Looks like he's pretty cool. He's relatively well dressed in most of them. I might get rid of the one with the green background and the boats. It doesn't look as physically good as some of the others, and the background's not the most amazing. So I might get rid of that one. He's kind of already done everything he's doing in that photo and other ones. The other thing I might do is if he has a photo or two that have friends in them, it's not the worst thing in the world to do. Although I'll be, you know, full disclosure, I don't even have friends in my photos, so it's not a necessary thing. It's just a good thing to have if you can. But his photos are actually pretty decent. They convey relatively a high status guy who has some stuff going on in his life, seems interesting, etc. So photo-wise, I like it. Photo-wise, not perfect, but it's pretty good. So the bio starts out, it says, don't say I didn't warn you, I'll probably end up practicing chokes on you. And then it has a martial arts uniform, which I actually just noticed the martial arts uniform. When I read this, you know, before bringing it on here, I actually didn't notice that, so I thought it was actually worse. But even with the martial arts uniform, the idea that you're opening with a girl with like, I'm probably gonna choke you, the girls that are extremely kinky and into that will go for that maybe in a very strong way, but a huge amount of girls are gonna be just like a little scared, a little turned off by that, even if they're otherwise attracted to you. And funny enough, even the girls that would be kinky and would be down for that, because you're a stranger, because you're doing it too fast, even they may be a little worried for their safety. He continues, I can make sick pancakes though, so don't complain, which is kind of like goofy, irrelevant, whatever, but anyway. And then it says, no, seriously, you might want to find yourself a nice, safe account your mother would approve of. I approve of that line, probably because I wrote it. It's actually a pretty decent line overall, and it's of the right nature. And notice the difference between that and the first line, right? The first one is overtly like, I will choke you. Overt mention of sex or overt mention of physical danger, physical assault even almost, right? Second one is maybe you should find some other guy, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot more subtle. It's not I will do this specific bad thing. It's more of a teasing kind of disqualifier, right? Much more subtle overall. And then it says, approaching my 6-year anniversary in the UK, I need someone to watch Endgame with for the 50th time. Bonus points if you actually enjoy working out rather than going to the gym just so you can hang out with me afterwards. The approaching my 6-year anniversary thing, that's kind of irrelevant. It's probably not the most important thing. You probably just take it out because it's just filler and it's probably just not helping much. The last paragraph though, again, he's getting gamey, right? It says bonus points if you enjoy working out as opposed to just going so you can hang out with me afterwards. Now, I like the concept here. I like the idea here that he's saying you will be attracted to me. I'm used to having girls want to hang out with me, et cetera, right? But the way he's put it, it doesn't really flow very smoothly. It seems like he just threw that in because he's overtly trying to say that. So I have this metaphor. It's kind of like in cartoons, you have the anvil that falls out of the sky. It's this big event came out of nowhere and it just takes over the scene. Kind of the same thing here. You notice that something just happened. You notice like, wait, he just said like an overtly cocky thing that like kind of was out of context. And it just kind of, it hits you in the face as though something just happened. So this idea of the girl wanting to hang out with you afterwards is really good, but it just comes off a little bit overt, a little bit blatant. So could a profile like this work? It actually could to a point. Why? First of all, because his photos are good, right? So a lot of girls are going to swipe on him just for the photos without even reading anything. And a lot of girls are just going to think of him as higher value than them already because of the photos and overlook whatever's in the profile. Beyond that, in the profile, he is a little bit sexual, he is a little bit cocky, and those are positive qualities. They're a little bit leveling, they're a little bit overly obvious. And so with this kind of a profile, he'll probably get girls that are just below his level of attractiveness. Maybe even to his level of attractiveness, but he's not going to exceed that. He's not going to get girls he quote unquote doesn't deserve or that like are just more physically attractive than him with this because of those leveling behaviors, because of that overt mention of sex or that overt gaminess, which is a bit of a turnoff and a bit of a leveling behavior. But could it work? Yes, he will get a certain caliber of girl, and he may actually get a few girls that are just specifically kinky. There may be a few girls that just have a fetish for being choked and actually do respond to this. And yes, I understand it was a joke with the gi and everything, but that said, that's easily overlooked. And by the time they get to that little emoticon, they've already read the thing about choking and they've already maybe formed a decision. They maybe even already swiped left after seeing the choking bit before they even get that far. So are there some good elements here? Definitely. Are there some elements that are holding him back? I would say absolutely also the case. The final profile mistake I want to talk about is what I call conveying yourself in a low value way. And notice I said conveying yourself in a low value way, not being low value. It's quite possible to be a high value guy and convey yourself in a low value way. It's also possible to be a relatively low value guy and convey yourself in a high value way. What girls respond to online isn't who you actually are, it's how you've conveyed yourself in your profile. So whatever kind of level of attractiveness, level of value you have, there's a good way to convey it and a bad way to convey that. And we're gonna look at a guy here who is not making the most of what he has for a couple different reasons. So first, looking at the written bio. And this guy has the same error in his written bio essentially as the first guy, which is that it's just boring. Now, this guy's not being overly provider in the bio, but it's still just a lot of just facts and nothing that really stands out. So yeah, facts about, what he does for a living, and then he loves deep discussions and laughing so hard he cries. Most people like those things. And he likes intelligent, witty, and funny females. Most people like those things. So there's nothing really all that unique. And yes, it's good that he has some kind of an idea of what he's looking for in a girl, but these are not particularly like huge aspirational standards, and they're not particularly things that stand out. So it's good that he has a standard. It's good that he's putting what he wants. But other than that, it's all just kind of boring and kind of facts. So this profile written is not the greatest. But where he really makes his mistake is in his photos, because they're just not taken very well. And let's look at that. So this first photo is taken as clearly a selfie, and it's taken from the perspective of his chin, apparently. Like this, it's taken from the chest up at his beard, right? And the beard itself is interesting. I have had a longish beard myself. I've never had it quite as long as him, but I've had a longish beard myself. And the funny thing that happens with facial hair and with a bearded look is there's a very thin line between looking homeless and looking like an eccentric billionaire. okay? And it has to do with, is it well kept, is it tidy, is it together, etc. So this look of shaved head with a beard can make you look badass, or it can make you look neck beard loser. It can go really, really one way or the other, and it's a very thin line between the two. And one, the angle at which the photo is taken, the lighting at which the photo is taken, does this look like a cool photo overall, is gonna make a huge difference. Are you taking it from the perspective of your up from your throat up, or are you taking it from like a normal perspective, is going to make a huge difference. And then is your beard trimmed and looking good, is going to make a huge difference. And he's done those things wrong in this case. Notice the lighting in this, right? The lighting is coming down on his head so that you don't even know the outline of his head. It's just kind of blending into the light, right? So it's just poorly lit, poor angle, not looking his best, and the beard is very unkempt. So overall, just not making the most of what he has. Next one here, a little bit better, right? He's wearing like more of a business suit, and the beard's a little more trim, but it's still this weird lighting, weird angle. He's off to the side of the photo, clearly a selfie. It's just not a well-taken photo. It just doesn't look high status. And when you do one thing incompetently, and I'm not trying to make fun of him, because like it's not like taking photos is an important life skill for most things, only for really online dating for a guy. But if you show that you don't know how to take a photo and you don't know how to light it, it just doesn't make you look like you have your shit together the same way it would if it was well taken, right? So what this guy should do is get a friend or even hire a photographer to take some photos of him and take them with decent lighting where the light's not coming down on him and where the photo is not coming up at his chin as the front of the photo. All right, this next photo, he's basically dark and he's off to the side. It's more a photo of the other dude than it is of him. He's kind of like half in the shot. It's again, clearly a selfie. I don't know what's going on. Again, it's just not a very good photo. There wasn't a lot of effort taken either in taking this photo or in choosing this photo. He could very, very easily get better photos taken. If he got any friends to just sit and take a bunch of photos of him, he could absolutely pick some better ones out. Never mind just hiring a photographer off Craigslist. He'd get tremendously better results very, very easily. And then this final one, again, it's a selfie. He does look a little more kempt in the fact that he's wearing a suit, but in this case, what he's done is I think he has a trim of the beard that's not very flattering to him, and I can relate to this because I'm the same way. If I do a goatee, I look like it makes my cheeks look a little like fat and look a little baby-faced. In this case, that's what's happening here. It's not framing his face the best way. The other style of beard actually looked better in terms of framing his face. Having some stuff over here worked better for him in that regard. So this isn't just necessarily the best look. And then again, it's a selfie. Again, it's not particularly well lit. And again, it is taken from an upward angle coming up at his face. So they're just not well taken photos. If he took some time and energy, this guy absolutely could get better photos taken. Is this guy a male model? No, he's not. But could he get photos that make him look decent? Absolutely he could, all right? Because a lot of times it's more about your look than your looks. If these photos are like, quite honestly, like a 2 out of 10, just because of how they're taken, this guy clearly on his appearance, if he got good photos taken, he could definitely get himself to a 7 or 8 out of 10 with good photos. Putting some effort into the lighting, putting some effort into the grooming and the look that you put together, and then actually taking a bunch of photos and choosing the best one will do a tremendous amount for this guy's profile. And then he obviously, again, should rewrite his bio and make it less boring, but the photos are really what's holding him back. Oh, I almost missed it. He actually does have one more photo. And this photo is actually much better. I guess this is I think like him at work or something like that. But he's in a suit, which is good. And it's shot from, far away enough that it's not a shot of his chin, right? It still is an upward shot of him, but because it's far away enough, it's not a direct chin shot. So he actually looks better in this photo than he does in any others. The issue here is it's just really too far away. You can't really see him that much, but this is his best photo by far. And he certainly could get a photo that's of equal caliber to this, but where you can actually see his face and it's actually kind of more close up and hopefully not even shot up at him, but shot maybe level at his face. So this is just an example. This photo already is way better than his other ones, even though this is still kind of an unintentional seeming photo. He needs to get photos that were taken on purpose. So I've now shown you 3 of the most common online dating mistakes. What should you do now? You should look at your profile if you have one. You should make one if you don't, but you should look at your online dating profile and look and see if you're making these mistakes. Are you being boring and just writing the same stuff that the average guy is doing? Are your photos just taken in very mundane settings of you doing nothing and don't convey any kind of a lifestyle? Are you being overtly gamey or overtly sexual in a way that can be a turnoff to a huge segment of the girls and is really limiting your possible opportunities? And then are you being overtly low value in how you're taking your photos? Are you taking badly lit photos? Are you taking photos where you don't look your physical best? All of these mistakes, they're easy to make. In some cases, they're lazy mistakes. In some cases, they're mistakes of lack of knowledge, but they can all be very, very easily corrected. So I suggest to you, if you find any of these mistakes in your profile, eliminate them immediately.